Hi, Dharma Circle. Swati here, the embodied Dharma coach, here to talk about trauma impacting your Dharmic path. So, is trauma impacting your Dharma? And why do we need trauma to support and clarify and even improve or amplify the Dharmic path? Because the truth is, there is a very intimate link between Dharma and trauma, both in the body and how instrumental trauma is in helping us refine our Dharmic path. The problem is when trauma is unresolved or it is not honored fully, it can truly disrupt our path and our purpose. So let's dive in and talk more about how trauma is impacting Dharma, how trauma impacts Dharma, and the signs within the body and the path if trauma is truly causing adharma, that which goes against Dharma. We know that in order for Dharma to really be embodied and to live our sole purpose, we need to be able to trust our own nourishment. We need to be able to trust our body wisdom. The problem with trauma is that it disconnects us from our self-trust, from our own inner knowing, and from our body wisdom. And so research is showing, and trauma research has been telling us that this disconnection can cause incredible amounts of problems in body and life. This disconnection in the body occurs when there is unresolved trauma living in the body. And in fact, when we're using Jyotish for our Dharmic path, we can quite literally see where this trauma lives in the body, how it's impacting the body, exactly what body part, how the personal mythology is being impacted by trauma. So Jyotish, of course, is such an incredible tool for understanding trauma. And it can be very helpful for the healing process as well as clarifying Dharma and the Dharmic path. So it's one of the wonderful things about Vedic knowledge and wisdom is that when we use it in its wholeness, it supports our wholeness, which Dharma is our wholeness. So the disconnection in the body and our own body wisdom becomes problematic for the Dharmic path. The trauma impacts our ability to clearly identify needs, pleasure, joy. It also interferes with our ability to receive nourishment. And if we don't know what we need, if we don't know what is truly nourishing and we can't feel this nourishment in our body, we won't be able to consistently move towards the purpose of our soul, because our soul purpose is rooted in our nourishment and our pleasure, our joy. And so when I meet a woman who is unclear on her Dharmic path, she doesn't have purpose, she doesn't have direction in life, I know that we're working with unresolved trauma. We cannot separate these two things because the ability to identify our nourishment comes from the body. And that's why I've dedicated my entire life to embodiment and Dharma. They go hand in hand. We cannot separate body from Dharma. And we cannot separate body from the nourishment of our soul. We source this nourishment from the body. So the level of connection with your body and its nourishment will actually determine your success and your prosperity in life. So the disconnection will become adharmic, that which goes against Dharma. Here are some signs that trauma is impacting your body and your life, particularly your dharmic path. And this is unresolved trauma. And let's be honest, we all have unresolved trauma. We are all in a process of healing. It doesn't matter how much work we've done. The journey is ongoing. The layers are ongoing. So just notice if any of this feels relevant to you, or is something that you've moved through or are moving through on your path. So these are signs that trauma is impacting your dharmic path. There's a lack of clarity with direction, choices, and action steps. Mistrusting your purpose, your offerings, gifts, inner wisdom. A numbing or avoidant experience, avoidance within the path, on the path, a lack of emotion even, this numb, avoidant lack of emotion when it comes to your purpose. So almost like a checked out or disconnection with your purpose. Excuses, sabotage, chaos that keeps you from consistent action steps. Constant disappointment or an inability to fulfill your desires and your needs. Overgiving, overdoing, which leads to malnourishment, burnout, fatigue, disenchantment with your path and your offerings. This is a very clear sign that there is some disconnection taking place. Health challenges that keep you from fulfilling your dharma. Again, certainly rooted in trauma. Lack of money, wealth, prosperity, abundance. Again, a trauma dynamic at play that needs to be addressed. Relationships that drain, discourage, disrupt your focus, your dharmic clarity, and your commitment to your dharma. Another sign that there is some relationship trauma on the path, okay? And in your body specifically. Self-doubt, self-criticism, shame, unworthiness, clouding your self-trust. Inconsistent action steps, momentum, commitment, or focus. Trauma in the body. Forcing, pushing, overworking to achieve goals. This is another trauma response. It looks more like overdrive, but it is nonetheless likely rooted in trauma. And then the last one is a resisting or refusing to set goals for fear of disappointment. Another way that trauma sneaks up on us and can impact our dharmic path and our purpose. Trauma impacts us and the body in a myriad of ways. So it looks very different for each one of us. Think in terms of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn responses in the body and how trauma is at play in these dynamics and how that can interrupt and cause problems with your clarity, your focus, your self-trust, your confidence, your ability to take action and really move forward with your goals, your desires, your dreams, your pleasure. Trauma in the body impacts us and it literally robs us of clarity and focus and consistent action steps, which is all rooted in self-trust. So trauma is very sneaky, and most of the challenges that we experience in this body and this life are a result of unresolved trauma. Again, we can look at the Jyotish chart and see exactly how the trauma dynamic is impacting the body and the soul. The important thing here to remember is that understanding of trauma in the body and how trauma is impacting the body and the soul is instrumental and even vital for the Dharmic path. If we are willing to move closer to this Dharma, if we are willing to move closer to our trauma, the disconnection in the body will actually lead us to reconnection, which is Dharma. So we need the disconnection in order to reconnect. This is the conundrum, it is the Leela, it is the Dharmic path, that with our willingness to move closer to the challenge, the disconnection in the body and the soul, we find our wholeness. We reconnect with our wholeness. The problem is when we are not willing to move closer to the trauma, the disconnection. This disconnection is vital for the reconnection and the wholeness. The resistance to the trauma is what becomes problematic. And we all have this resistance, even if we've been doing our work. And Rahu and Ketu in the Jyotish chart show us the attraction-repulsion dynamic. I want it, but I'm terrified of it at the same time. So the Dharmic path becomes one of willingness and curiosity to lean into and continue to move closer to this attraction-repulsion dynamic, the fear and the desire. And that is the path. So we can't actually have Dharma without trauma. There needs to be a willingness and a gentleness with this approach to our trauma, this willingness to rewire the nervous system so that we have the ability to more easily receive gentleness, peace, simplicity in all areas of our life and our business. But it comes back to the body. So the body's capacity to receive nourishment and pleasure, which determines the ease and success of the Dharmic path. When we are disconnected from the body, we will be disconnected from Dharma. And we see that again and again on the path and, of course, in the Jyotish chart. We can see where the disconnection is, also where the reconnection needs to take place. The hidden piece here about trauma that we rarely hear about in the therapy world, it seems to be more common in shamanic, indigenous wisdom, healing, even the healing realms, but it's barely being talked about at this point in the therapeutic realms. Therapy and even trauma research is very focused on early childhood trauma and attachment issues. But I want to encourage you to consider how ancestral trauma and lineage trauma plays a significant role in the trauma and the healing work that you're doing in this body and this lifetime. Vedic knowledge and wisdom, and through the Jyotish chart, we can see that 75% of our karma comes from the lineage, comes from our ancestors, both mother's side, father's side, and even our previous soul's incarnation, as well as the 9-month gestation period. So 75% of our karma is actually imprinted by the ancestors and the lineage. This is huge and significant when it comes to trauma and healing the body. When we overlook the impact of ancestral trauma on your dharma and your individual path, we really miss the wholeness. We really miss the wholeness. If you are a contract worker, which means you've been hired by the ancestors to restore dharma to the lineage, to your lineage, we have to take into consideration the systemic disconnection in the ancestral body. The systemic disconnection in the ancestral body is absolutely impacting the disconnection you're working with in this body and this life. And it's handed to you by the lineage. Epigenetically, we know that what we turn on continues to grow and what we turn off dies. So the Dharmic path is really about this reawakening or re-enlivening, feeding the parts of the body, feeding the parts of the ancestral body that need more nourishment, that need more Shakti, life force energy. Whereas the trauma shows us where we need to stop feeding that part of ourselves, that part of the lineage. And it's not through bypassing, it's not through avoiding, it's not through disconnection, more disconnection. It's the disconnection in the lineage that has caused this rupture, this trauma to occur in your body and in the lineage body. And so again, it's only through returning to body, returning to nourishment, restoring, healing, repatterning, repairing the nervous system and the bodies that this heals. And when you heal this trauma in your body, you are healing this for the lineage as well. And that's the beautiful thing about healing and Dharma. Because when we restore Dharma in our own body and in our own life, we really are restoring and healing the lineage simultaneously. And it becomes this beautiful dynamic, this co-creation. Of course, this is the truth of just even being in a body and in this life. We are not even here without the ancestors. There is no Dharma without the lineage. There is no life without the ancestors. And so I encourage you to continue your healing journey, but with this additional awareness of ancestral wisdom and support that is guiding you. So much of the disconnection with Dharma and the disconnection with your clear path and purpose is likely a disconnection with the ancestors and your lineage. Again, there is no Dharma without the ancestors. So we need to remember that this is a path of ancestral wisdom, and we're re-enlivening and re-nourishing the lineage Dharma as we heal our body and our soul. All levels of the path are impacted by the ancestral piece. So just remember that. It's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual bodies are involved in this ancestral healing. As you heal your bodies, all aspects of life become easier and gentler. There are 4 pathways of Dharma, and the various pathways of Dharma, we all have one main pathway that we're working with very intimately, but some of us have challenges in multiple areas. And it has to do with one pathway is wealth challenges, one pathway is relationship challenges, one pathway is health challenges, and one pathway is literally the disconnection with the purpose of your soul. All pathways, when there's challenge in any of these pathways, it is a disconnection. It's a disconnection with the nourishment of your soul. When you focus on what the purpose is of your soul and your lineage in this lifetime, what needs to be healed, all the other pathways are supported. All the healing takes place on multiple levels. So whether you're having money problems or relationship problems or health problems, or there's a systemic disconnection with the purpose, soul purpose in the lineage, when you heal this part of your path and heal through your body, it supports all the pathways healing. And of course, the lineage issues that occur in this area as well. I often say that their goals don't work when the body says no. In the business world, and certainly in money realms and relationships, and even in the Dharmic field, soul purpose field, people really neglect this body piece. You can have the desire, you can have the hope, you can have the goal, but if the body is not ready to receive this nourishment, then it just simply won't happen. And this is something I've seen in my own body, in my own business, in my own path, as well as hundreds of clients. The goal and the desire can be there, but if the body is not on board, it doesn't matter how much you push and you force, the body will win. Ultimately, the body has the final say in terms of your success. And so when we work against the body rather than in right relationship with our body, then we really rub it up against problems. This is why I encourage a gentle path, a gentle business model, a gentle way of working with Jyotish, even an embodied approach, because, and this may be a slower path, and that's something that many of us who have extreme trauma have to accept and honor and acknowledge on this path, is that our journey may be slower, but I'll tell you, if you are willing to work with the body and create an easy, gentle, slow, steady, consistent path that continues to return to body and body and body as mantra, this will be a sustainable path. It won't be a crash and burn path. And we see a lot of people doing that, where it's big boom, big success, and then because if the body doesn't support this growth and expansion, it won't last. It won't be sustainable. So it's why I encourage a gentle, nourishing path. All areas of life, business, must incorporate your body and the wisdom of your body so that this is sustainable. It may be slower, but it will be more sustainable. Goals need to take into consideration the needs and the wisdom of the body. And it's why I always ask my clients to make their goals and then ask the body how that feels. Is the body on board with 100 new clients? Is the body saying yes to what will be required in order to reach this goal? That's a good question to always consider, if your goals are really backed by the body. And the reason why, so we are in Kali Yuga right now. This is a yuga, or a time period in the Vedic calendar, that is rooted in adharma, that which goes against dharma. It's a very dark period where dharma is almost non-existent. It's a very rare soul who even knows what Dharma is, let alone has the ability, the desire, the willingness to move towards the purpose of the soul, to do the healing work required for this path of soul purpose. So it's very challenging. It's hard to find. And the reason is the disconnection with body. And when we're disconnected with the body, or from our body and our body wisdom, we mistrust ourselves. We mistrust our gifts and our wisdom. Doubt is a huge sign that there is trauma in the body, that there is disconnection with our own body wisdom. If you doubt your own gifts and wisdom, if you feel like you don't have value, that is a clear sign that there is some trauma, some disconnection with your body and its wisdom. Dharmic wisdom, your unique gifts and wisdom, nobody else has these gifts. Nobody else has this wisdom. Nobody even else in your lineage has these gifts and wisdom, because you're a unique expression of the lineage gifts and wisdom. So when we're doubting our own gifts and wisdom, or we don't honor the value of our own gifts and wisdom, this is a clear indication that there is trauma. And that is the nature of Kali Yuga, is to disconnect, to mistrust, to be shadowed by the illusion of unworthiness, to be shadowed by the illusion that we are somehow not able to be special or unique, to share our gifts and our wisdom, this soul nourishment. So really look out for that on your path. If you notice yourself doubting and feeling like you don't have value, or there's an unworthiness on some level, that is trauma at play, a disconnection from your body and your soul wisdom that needs your connection, your reconnection. It needs your attention. It needs your curiosity. It needs your willingness. When we do this work, when we heal, when we restore and reconnect in the body, we're doing this for ourselves. We do it for the lineage, and everyone benefits. So this is how trauma impacts your Dharma and your Dharmic path. It's actually quite fascinating, and it's always fascinating to me to see how the disconnection and the reconnection play and dance together. Remember, where there is disconnection, our job is to reconnect. That is the Dharmic path, the reconnection process. However, we're in an attraction-repulsion dynamic. I want it, and I'm terrified of it at the same time. We can see this in the Jyotish chart through Rahu and Ketu. Wherever you're disconnected in the body, this is your body's request to reconnect in this area so that you can create wholeness, feel wholeness in your body, and of course, your ancestral body as well. If you would like more resources for your Dharmic path, if you'd like more clarity for your path and your purpose, then comment Dharma below and we'll send you my Dharma resources for soul path clarity and reconnection from an embodied approach. Remember, there's no Dharma without the body and the wisdom of the body. Comment Dharma below. We'll share my Dharmic resources with you, and you can get started with a clear path and an easy, gentle Dharmic business model. All right, everyone, have a wonderful day and happy new moon. I'll see you next week for more Dharmic insights and wisdom. Bye.